Vaishnav Thakur. Very Vaishnav Thakur.
Oh, hey, Vaishnav. Oh, yeah, that's Vaishnav.
Can someone turn on the thing also?
Oh, Venerable Vaishnav.
Oh, hey, Vaish.
You need the translation.
Okay, today we're going to be seeing, the class is going to be on Ramanujacharya, the great Vaishnava, Acharya of the Sri Vaishnava line. So we're going to be singing this song, great Vaishnava Thakur. O Venerable Vaishnava, devotee of Krishna, O ocean of mercy, be merciful unto your servant. Give me the shade of your lotus feet, and purify me. I hold unto your lotus feet. Teach me to control my six passions, rectify my six faults, bestow upon me the six opulences, offer unto me the 6 times of holy association. I do not find the strength to carry on alone the Sankirtan of the holy name of Hari. Please bless me and give me just a drop of faith with which to obtain the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours, you have the power to give him to me. I'm simply your servant running behind me shouting Krishna, Krishna. Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Vedasya Karuna Kori Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori Diya pada chaya shodha hai amaya tumhara charana dhari Diya pada chaya shodha hai amaya tumhara charana dhari Chaya begadumi Chaya dosha sodhi Chaya guna deho dase Chaya begadumi Chaya dosha shodhi Chaya guna dehodase Chaya sat sanga dehe amare bosiche sangira ashe Chaya satsanga Deha he amare bosechi sangera ashe Kaki amara nahi paye bala Hari Nama Sankirtane Kaki amara nahi paye bala Hari Nama Sankirtane
তুমি কৃপা করি শ্রদ্ধা বিন্দু দিয়া দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ধ্যানে তুমি কৃপা করি শ্রদ্ধা বিন্দু দিয়া দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ধ্যানে कृष्ण से तुम्हारा कृष्ण दीते पारो तुम्हारा शक्ति आछे कृष्ण से तुम्हारा कृष्ण दीते पारो तुम्हारा शक्ति आछे आमी तो कंगाला कृष्ण कृष्ण बोली धाई तो अब पाछे पाछे आमी तो कंगाला कृष्ण कृष्ण बोली धाई तो अब पाछे पाछे हे वैष्णव ठाकुरा दयार सागर हे दासे करुणा करे हे दासे करुणा करे दासे करुणा करी हे वैष्णव ठाकुर जय 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 ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजक आचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजक आचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से गौर श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की नवद्वीप धाम की गंगा माई की यमुना माई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की appearance day of Ramanujacharya की संकीर्तन यज्ञ की transcendental book distribution की समवेत भक्तवृंद की all glories to the simple devotees all glories to the simple devotees all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Nityananda Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitamini Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadam Mayam Datati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gata Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragnathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuitam Savaditam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatvate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishavanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhubhya Vicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamiti Namane Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Disasarne Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Chaitadram Sambhavam Vishnu Darshana Stapantuksham Stapantukshukam Tundira Mandale Tesha Murtim Ramanujam Bhaje. I worship Sripad Ramanuja, the incarnation Mananta, who took birth in this month of Chaitra, April to May, under the sixth lunar mansion of the Tunira days, and who came upon the earth to establish the philosophy of Sri Vishnu. So we're not going to be going over Bhagavatam today. We're going to be going over the great Acharya, Sri Ramanujacharya. So, turn this off. So anybody know who Ramanujacharya is? Yes, Taita. Okay, good. That's of which disciplic succession? Sri Vaishnava tradition. No. So there's 4 sampradayas. What are the 4 sampradayas? Lakshmi sampradaya. No, Lakshmi, Vishnu Swami is Vishnu Jan. Vishnu Swami is a part of another sampradaya. What's the sampradaya? No. So there is Lakshmi sampradaya. What's our sampradaya? Brahma sampradaya. And then Kumaras, and then Rudra sampradaya. He already said Lakshmi. So each of them have acharyas. And Ramanujacharya, he's the acharya of the Shri line, which is, what's the Shri line? Lakshmi Sampradaya. So Ramanujacharya, he comes in the line of, he's the Shri Sampradaya. So there's 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas that are bona fide. And so those 4 are the Rudra Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, which is Lakshmi Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya, and then you've got the Kumara Sampradaya. And so all of these Sampradayas, what is their conclusion of Shastra? No. Vishnu. One's goal in life is to serve Vishnu. Idam, what is it? What's the Idam Vishnave? There's something comes like that. Yeah, something like that. That one should worship Vishnu.
Well, that means everything this is for Vishnu, not for me.
Okay, that's so their understanding of everything is that, the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas, because we call Vaishnavas, it means we are the followers of Vishnu. The ultimate goal of life is to serve Vishnu. So Ramanuja's Acharya, he's so. This is too low, really. You can't hear me properly. Or?
A lot better.
Okay. You can. So Ramanujacharya, he's significant in this line because he specifically is a great Acharya who establishes the line of Sri Vaishnava very prominently within India, defeating so many Mayavad philosophies throughout his lifetime. So just like we have Srila Prabhupada, who's the founder Acharya of our movement, so we have like Ramanuja Acharya, who did he performed such great works. He was such an exalted personality in that line. And how do we fit into the picture? How does okay, we have these 4 sampradayas, but then who's Gaudiya? Like, what does Gaudiya fit under? We're Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but we don't fit under all those categories, right? So where do we fit as the Vaishnava Sampradaya? Because those are the 4 bona fide Sampradayas. So where do we fit as a Sampradaya? Who do we come under? Because we can't just be a separate Sampradaya, right? Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. So we are a part of the Brahma line. Does anybody know why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose to go under the Brahma Madhva line instead of the Sri Vaishnava line? Why aren't we like Lakshmi, Ramanuja, Vaishnava, Gaudiya Sampradaya? Well, everybody performs devotional service. That's what do you do to Vishnu? You perform devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So that's the goal of life, right? So what is so different about us? Why is it that we didn't take the Lakshmi Sampradaya and we took the Brahma Madhva Sampradaya? What? Okay, but Vyasadeva. He's the compiler of all the Vedas. We have Brahma, Narada, Vyas, but it's still, why is it? It's still Vaishnava Sampradayas. So why choose one or the other? Yeah, that's sure. That's there, and the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Brahma Madhva Sampradaya doesn't. I don't know whether they don't. Do they see Krishna as we have the proper conception in our Gaudiya Vaishnava as the supreme topmost? They don't. So they don't have that understanding either. So why they don't consider that we have in Bhagavatam Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam? You're the or Brahma Samhita. Ishvara. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting the verse sometimes. Ishvara Parama Krishna. And so they don't have that either. So why did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu choose this line? Specifically because that Madhva Acharya, he was so strong in defeating Mayavad philosophy. He was so strong in just against the Mayavadis. So was Ramanujacharya, as we'll see when we talk about him. But Madhva Acharya, he was particularly very strong in defeating the Mayavadis. He deeply hated them with a lot of, he had deep-rooted hate against the Mayavads. That was his whole goal, was just completely smash them. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very much admired that. So actually, in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, in the appendix, Guru Maharaj, he states so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in order to be a bona fide sampradaya, he actually took the essence of the 4 sampradayas and he implied it into the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So he took from Ramanujacharya is the Acharya of the Sri line, Madhvacharya is the Acharya of the Brahma line, Vishnu Swami is the Acharya of the Rudra line, and Nimbarka Acharya he's the Acharya of the Kumaras line. So he adopted 2 major Guru Maharaj says 2 major specialties from each of them. So from Madhva he accepted the defeat of Mayavad philosophy and recognition of the deity form of Krishna as an eternal spiritual being. From Ramanuja, he incorporated the concept of bhakti, unpolluted by karma and jnana, and the importance of service to devotees. From Vishnu Swami's teachings, he adopted the sentiment of exclusive dependence on Krishna and the path of Rag Bhakti. And Nimbarka, he accepted the need to take shelter of Radha and high esteemed for the gopis' love for Krishna. So it's interesting that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't take the Nimbarka line so much, because you see that very prominent in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of that the need to take this Radha Bhava that's exhibited by Sri Chaitanya. He's trying to experience that, and the love for Krishna. That literally is the essence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, is that love for Krishna that he has. But it's interesting that he takes this the Madhva line, which is a complete defeat of Mayavad philosophy, just squishes it completely, and the recognition of deity form of Krishna as eternal supreme being. So Ramanujacharya, we can see this is unpolluted by karma and jnana, and the importance of service to the devotees. Shuddha Bhakta, man, why am I? I'm always, when I get up here, Charana Renu, Bhakati Anukula. So this is actually the essence of Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition is this also, that the service to the pure devotees, Das Anudas, that one is the servant of the pure devotees of the Lord. So Ramanujacharya, the line of Ramanujacharya very much exhibited that you perform devotional service in such a way you serve the devotees, and you are devoid of jnana karma anavritam, devoid of these things. This is like so essential in our line of bhakti, isn't it? Such an essential factor that we adopted, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took from the Sri Sampradaya. So we're very closely related with the Sri Sampradaya in that way. That this jnana, this devoid of jnana and karma, desire for these things, desire for pure bhakti, that one desires this, Atma Nivedana, this surrender unto the Lord. And you can see this very prominent in the Sri Vaishnava line with the great acharyas like Vedanta Deshika. Just seeing through the story, their attachment to the Vaishnavas and their attachment to Vishnu. That there's in this recent lecture not the recent lecture actually, it's how to overcome all bad qualities and surrender to Krishna. You can listen to this lecture, very nice, by Guru Maharaj. There's Atma Nivedana, then there's Atma Samarpan, where Atma Nivedana is you're putting yourself at the lotus feet of the Lord, and then Atma Samarpan, you're throwing yourself. You're throwing yourself onto the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay, forget all this nonsense. I'm just going to surrender to Krishna and surrender to Vishnu. You see that in the Sri Vaishnavas actually very prominently. Just this surrender to Vishnu. Forget everything. Like Vedanta Deshika, he was willing to die for the service of Vishnu. No second thought. And you see that she's a Shudrani who's a dancer. She immediately didn't even second think. Immediately she went and enticed this Muslim king and killed him. She's even a Shudrani, she's actually chaste. She gave herself to this Muslim ruler and gave him poison from her mouth by kissing him, and killed him in order to save, the forms of Vishnu. This happened in Ranganath, to save Ranganath. So their devotion for Vishnu, you can see this devotion for Vishnu, that's coming with this devoid of karma and jnana. That is meant to be the pure line of Sri Sampradaya, that they're devoted these things in the service to the devotees. So Ramanujacharya, he took his birth in South India, and he in the I think 1000 AD. So that was the time, about 1,000 years ago. He took his appearance. It's specifically mentioned in the 5th day of the full moon in the month of Chaitra in 1017 AD, 1017 AD. So he was born in the Smartha Brahmana family, very highly esteemed, generally in the system of Varnashram Dharma. That is the topmost platform which you can take birth in, is in a Brahmana family. So he was born in such a family. Even from a young age, he was very learned. He could memorize things very fast. And actually, very interesting is that he studied under Yadava Prakash, who is a Mayavadi. He's the teacher of the Shankar line. So he was studying under him for quite some time. But being a devotee of the Lord, he was such a good student. It's mentioned that Yadava Prakash considered Ramanujacharya very dear to him, a very dear disciple, because he was so intelligent. But as Ramanuja grew, he started to refute some of the arguments or some of the presentations of Shastra of Yadava Prakash, because he was coming in the line of, obviously he was coming in the line of Shankaracharya. So actually, these Mayavadis, such nasty people, there's a verse that comes, I think it was in Chandra Upanishad, something like that, and it's a particular word is used, and that's to describe the I think the eyes of Krishna. And he the Mayavadi, he translated saying the eyes of Krishna is like the reddish, like the monkey's butt, the ass of a monkey. That's what Krishna's eyes are like. The red of a monkey. You guys seen monkeys' butts before? Baboon, monkeys. They're also like that. And so the Mayavadi, he describes it like this, and Ramanujacharya, he's completely like broken. Like how can anyone say such things about the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So he actually starts to cry. It's mentioned that his tears become hot. Very hot tears drip down his eyes. And Prabhupada said something along those lines. When one feels very distressed, the tears are very hot. But when one is like happy, the tears are cold. So if you ever cry, you can test. No, don't do that. So like that. But when Yadav Prakash asked him, he explained to his spirit that actually he was his spiritual master at the point, his guru. He was studying under him. So he asked why he was disturbed, and then Ramanujacharya gives a beautiful explanation of that same word. He compares one half of the word to like that of the sun, and the other half of the word that which blossoms. And he compares, he comes to the conclusion of that the eyes of the Supreme Personality Godhead are red like the lotus flower. And so it's very beautiful, very devotional. And actually Ramanujacharya is a little bit shocked at the scholarliness of his disciple. But and it's actually such a beautiful description that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving. So, and then, he continues doing this, and Yadav Prakash is completely frustrated with him, that because he gives different explanation at other point about Brahman and about the eternal, Sat Chit Ananda, and then Ramanujacharya refutes that also. And so Yadav Prakash, he becomes concerned because, he comes in the line of Shankaracharya, and if you don't follow in that line, then you're outside that, and so you should be expelled from that. So Yadava Prakash, he comes up with a plan to kill Ramanujacharya. So they send him on pilgrimage. He takes them. He's meant to go on pilgrimage, and he tells his disciples to try to kill Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya, his cousin, I think his cousin or his brother, something along those lines, hears of this plan and tells Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya is saved from this. But Ramanujacharya, because he's a humble disciple, he continues studying actually until he becomes expelled from his school of this Advaita school. And Ramanuja starts his own school and teaches the Vaishnav perspective of Vaishnav, the real understanding of Shastra, a complete understanding of Shastra. So, and in that endeavor, actually, there's a great Acharya, Yamuna Acharya, who is often referenced. When you read through Prabhupada's books, you'll come across Yamuna Acharya. Srila Prabhupada will quote him and sometimes refer to him. And so he was another great Acharya who was around in that time. And he could see Ramanuja. And when he saw Ramanujacharya, he went to see Ramanujacharya in Kanchipur. But when he saw him, he was still feeling pain within the heart that this person is studying under this Mayavad. So he actually prayed to Vishnu that let this person be free from this thing. And so Yamunacharya, he did such a thing. And then later down the line, he comes across Kanchipurna. That's his actual. No, Goshipurna is after Kanchipurna. It's mentioned that he takes initiation from Kanchipurna. So, because he lives in Kanchi, but the Kanchi Purna is there. And Kanchi Purna is actually a Shudra. He comes from a Shudra caste, but he's initiated by Yamuna Acharya. And so actually there's an instant where he desires to perform service to Kanchi Purna. He's like, please come. I want to massage your lotus feet. I want to take the dust of your lotus feet. But Kanchi Purna, he's completely shocked. This is a Brahman, and how can he massage my feet? He tells him, no, you're of a higher caste. You're not allowed to do such things. This will be, I'll completely lose my devotion to Vishnu. How can I do this? But actually, Ramanujacharya, he tells him that, you're a great Vaishnav devotee of the Lord, that if I don't get to worship your lotus feet because of this thread that I've got on me, then let me cut that thread. Let me cut that thread and let me serve your lotus feet, for that is the highest form of worship to Vishnu. That is the highest devotional service that I can perform. So you can see that Ramanujacharya, even from the beginning, he was always on that platform of, that a Vaishnava is higher than a Brahmana. This is also the philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, that forget all this, Kiva Vipra, Kiva Nyasi, Kiva Shadrinayam, that whoever you are, forget all this, come worship Vishnu. So we can see that in Ramanujacharya, in that line, that he considered this very deeply, that the Brahmana, that a Vaishnava who is devoted to the Lord, who is initiated the line, who is following the principles of Gaudiya Vaishnava, and he is a devotee of Vishnu, he is beyond any material arrangement or any varnashram system, that he's to be worshipped. So Ramanujacharya, he gave that proper understanding also. He not only gave it, but he also followed it. So actually, Yamunacharya, he was very attached to Ramanujacharya. And so Ramanujacharya, Yamunacharya by that time was actually very old, and he was passing away. He passed away actually by the time Ramanujacharya went to see him. And so when he went to see him, this Yamunacharya, he had, when he left his body, like this. And so nobody could understand what this meant. Because actually one hand there was a fist, and the other hand was like this. And Ramanujacharya, because being very intelligent and also being a great devotee of Vishnu, he could understand what this is. So it's described that so it says that the three fingers on the right hand. So notice three fingers on the right hand of the master were closed. He actually at that time noticed that the right hand of the master were closed. He asked the disciples of Yamunacharya if he had been accustomed to hold his hand in such a way, and they replied that it was highly unusual. Sripad Ramanujacharya could understand that usual gesture of the three clenched. I guess it was like that. Clenched fingers represented three unfulfilled wishes. Okay, so when he left his body, it was like that. Sorry, not like that. So like that. It was the three unfulfilled wishes of Yamunacharya. So Ramanujacharya, understanding that the mood of the Acharya, the mission of the Acharya, he could understand that. So he took the vow to establish those things that Yamunacharya desired so much. And we can see this in Prabhupada's purports. He says, what is the use of a disciple living anymore when the spiritual master leaves? I think this is in reference to which pastime? I forget. He mentions that when a spiritual master leaves his body, the duty of the disciple is to carry out the orders of the spiritual master. If the disciple cannot carry out the orders of the spiritual master, he should also leave his body. There's no use to live for him to live anymore. So we can see this mood of Ramanujacharya. What Prabhupada describes in his books is present in all these acharyas, non-different. You can hear some of these lectures from the past from Guru Maharaj. Especially, there's a 4-year one on Ramanujacharya. He begins with the things like, it's not different. The mood of the Vaishnava acharyas, we are following in that line. We're following in this line. Actually, Ramanujacharya, his mood is so close. We're actually the mood of Ramanujacharya and the mood of Gaudiya Vaishnavas is like very similar when you read through his life. So Ramanujacharya, what were these three teachings? It was that he promised to teach people in general this religion of surrender to Vishnu. What did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come to give? What did he come to give? Sri Chaitanya, Krishna Prema. He came to Swaparsha, the Suya Dhama Tava Avatari, and then it goes Atanda Durlabha Prema Karibari Dan, Shikayara Sharanagati Bhakatera Pran. He came to cheat Shikayara Sharanagati Bhakatera Pran, that which is very close to the heart of the devotee, that surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Jivadoya Kari, he's come in this form to give mercy to the living entities. And so what is Ramanujacharya promised here? He's promised to teach the people in general the religion of surrender to Vishnu. That's not different to what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the line of Gaudiya Vaishnava. Training them in 5 samskars or purity processes. And then it is one very... Okay, so finally Ramanuja promised to write a scholarly commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, expounding the principle of Sri Vaishnava as the ultimate truth of the Vedas, with the last clenched finger was relaxed, as a look of spiritual peace came over the lotus fate of Ramanuja Acharya's divine master Sri Ramanujacharya, as if to say that he could now depart peacefully, knowing that his mission was in good hands. Actually, there's like different versions of this I've read. So there's this, the clench of the fist and the fingers like that. But also that actually Ramanuja, in the other book, it describes that he wanted to establish Vishnu as supreme and defeat Mayavad philosophy very prominently, and establish the bhakti to Vishnu. So this, I guess this is also, it's similar to expound the scholarly commentary on the Vedanta Sutras to give Sri Vaishnavism, which is surrender to Vishnu. So to defeat Mayavad was the other purpose of Sri Ramanujacharya. And actually, there's a new lecture that came out. I haven't heard it, but I can understand that when we look at the pranam mantra of Srila Prabhupada, and then we look at Ramanujacharya, Namaste Gauravani Pracharya Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. What is Gauravani? What is that mission? Right. Jiva Swarupa, hey Krishna Nitya Das, to understand this point. To help everyone understand this point. Ramanujacharya, this is the same thing. Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. What is Nirvisesha Shunyavadi? Voidism and Buddhism. To defeat these things in the West, which specifically mentioned, in the place where this is so much prominent, to defeat these things. So to establish Gauravani and to defeat Mayavad and Buddhism. So this is the same purpose of Sri Ramanujacharya. The line of Acharyas is not different. Acharyas, Vaishnava Acharyas, they're all of the same mood, to establish Vishnu Bhakti and to defeat this nonsense. So Ramanujacharya took a vow to do such things, to spread the message of Vishnu, to teach the surrender to Vishnu. So although he took this promise, at the same time he was married, so he had a home and wife and family, and it seemed that the Lord arranged in such a way that he left his house and family, because his wife was quite she was not so much advanced like the pastimes of the Acharyas, but at least within the reference of the pastimes, you can see the nature of his wife was very, she didn't have the vision of a Vaishnava. Her vision was that of more of seeing caste systems. So when actually Ramanujacharya, Kanchipurna, he's the spiritual master of Yamuna, of Ramanujacharya. It's mentioned that he takes initiation from him. He invites him to his house so he can take the remnants of the pure devotee to serve him and then honor those remnants. But when Kanchipurna, he comes to the house of Ramanujacharya, his wife completely, disregards him, says, "You're a Shudra, how can you come to my house?" Because actually, it's like really, even when you hear about it, it's like, oh my God, a guru of Ramanujacharya is coming. And your wife is telling, how dare you come to my house, you're a Shudra. Because in caste culture, if a Shudra enters your house, everything becomes contaminated. Everything. We wouldn't, at least when we were growing up, we wouldn't allow Shudras into the house. And you can see that in Brahmin culture. You're not allowed to even take water maybe you can take water at the house of a Shudra, but you're not allowed to eat at the house of a Shudra. You can't take water. It's contaminated. Everything is contaminated. You become contaminated by associating with Shudra. Even a Vaishya. I come from a Vaishya family, not even a Brahmin family. So that's just Vaishyas wouldn't allow even them to come in, wouldn't associate them so much. So what to speak of Brahmanas? Brahmanas are like, and this is like, Kali Yuga, like down, degraded like anything. When we talk about this Smarta Brahmanas, they're very rigid in their rules and regulations of everything they do. So to allow a Shudra in your house is abominable. Your worship, you can no longer conduct worship until you purify the whole building. Everything in your house has to be purified. But that's the vision of a materialist. But the vision of Ramanujacharya is so much far beyond that. This verse comes in the Bhagavatam that Vishnu says, I am in the heart of my devotee and the devotee is in my heart, is my heart. Ramanujacharya can understand that point. So Ramanujacharya became very sad. It seems that he said something to his wife, but his wife wasn't willing to really adjust. And then it happens again later where a Brahmana, I think it happens with Kanchipurna again, sometime later. Kanchipurna actually starts to live near Ramanujacharya in Kanchipurna. And then the water pot. How do you know all this? Okay. Matthew was telling you. Okay. So there was somebody gave a class. We had Ramanujacharya's disappearance day, right? A few months ago. I remember that. He gave that class. I wasn't there for that class for some reason. But, okay. So his wife is there. And they're taking water out of the well, and then a drop of water goes into the pot of Ramanujacharya's wife, from Kanchipurna's wife. And she's completely fried out. She's like, look, you've contaminated everything. You're a Shudrani. How dare you do this? The wife of a guru, of your wife of your husband's guru, which is your guru as well. A wife, she takes the same guru as her husband. They can't. It doesn't work otherwise. In Vedic culture, you don't allow your wife. Actually, the wife doesn't take initiation. Actually, generally the husband takes from the same guru, right? But she doesn't take. She takes. What I've heard was that she takes after she gets married and then takes initiation from the guru. So the guru is the same as the husband's guru. So she's offending her own Guru Mata, the wife of his guru, which is she's meant to be looked upon as the goddess of fortune. I mean, every woman is looked upon as goddess of fortune, but especially the wife of a guru is exalted. So she was not very much cultured in the knowledge of Vaishnava philosophy. So then there's another instance where a Brahmana comes to beg, and then she disregards him, says, what kind of low person you are, I'm not going to give you any grains. And then actually Ramanujacharya meets him in the middle when he's coming back home, and he says, actually, you go back to my house, you'll get food, you'll get to eat very nicely this time. And so Ramanujacharya is very expert. He comes up with a great plan. He writes a message for the Brahmana, and the message is, I hope I can say this properly. The message is coming from his wife's father to Ramanuja. So he writes it himself. And he says, we have so many events at home. You need to come. We need a lot of support. Please come home. And so this Brahmana takes it, and Brahmana says, your father has given me a message to give to you. And she's very happy, feeds the Brahmana very nicely. And then she goes to Ramanujacharya and says, my father this is my message from my father. He wants me to come home. He says, yeah, go. And when she leaves, he dips out, he takes sannyas, and he starts preaching the message of Vishnu. So this is it. This isn't Shastra. One can let go of a wife and even his children if they're not proper, if they're just like, and we see the same thing with Srila Prabhupada. He did more or less, his wife was me or T. Oh, T or me. What is it? No, not T or me. What is it? What is the verse that there's the Prabhupada asked T or me to his wife. Not in the Bengali. I'm just saying that I got confused for a little. Prabhupada asked his wife, "Do you want tea or do you want me?" And she says tea. Yeah. She saw the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita. It was the Bhagavatam. Oh, I thought it was the commentary to the Bhagavad Gita that she sewed off. It was the Bhagavatam. Is that a miss thing? I thought it was the Bhagavad Gita. I'm pretty sure it was the Bhagavad Gita because he wrote the commentary to Bhagavad Gita. It was the Bhagavatam. I thought he only started Bhagavatam after he took some. No, his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, she sewed it off for tea, right? Are you sure? I thought he wrote the commentary on. Okay, anyways, I gotta look into it. He lost it, but I thought that was when he like suspected that she's no, okay. Oh, somebody stole it. I think somebody stole it or something. Oh, okay. All right. So you can see Srila Prabhupada kind of did the same thing. His wife was just like she was not into it. So he also took sannyas and preached the message of Vishnu. And so he did this, and then he took shelter. He actually went and prayed. Just before that, I think he went and prayed to Ranganath, saying, "Please let me completely surrender unto you. Just give up all these things." And so he came up with this amazing plan. And so Ramanujacharya, he studied under who's the now you were mentioning? What was his name? Goshtipurna. Then he studied under Goshtipurna. He went and took guidance from Goshtipurna. And Goshtipurna was meant to give him a great mantra, and actually he didn't want to because the mantra was very much secret. It was a secret mantra by which one can attain perfection. And so actually Goshtipurna, when he goes to see, I think either Ranganath or another deity of the Lord, Varadwaja, there's also Varadwaja. I think it's him or Ranganath, I'm getting it confused. When they're performing worship, actually one of the servants of the deity, he speaks that actually you should give this mantra to Ramanuja. He said that the deity is saying that this mantra should be given to Ramanuja, you should give it. But he doesn't want to give it still, and Ramanujacharya approaches him 18 times. And he still doesn't want to give it, and he becomes despondent, feeling himself to be, he's feeling that his guru is not giving it because he has some mature desire in the heart, and he's very despondent. And then his the all other associates of Ramanujacharya reveal this to Goshtipurna, and so Goshtipurna, he becomes pleased with that, his humble attitude of his humility. He's such a great scholar, defeating so many Mayavadis on and on, but he's very humble towards his guru. So he becomes pleased by this guru bhakti that he's showing, this mood of humility, and he awards this secret mantra to Ramanujacharya. And then this is, everybody mostly knows this, that Ramanujacharya, he gets this secret mantra. He specifically is told, don't reveal this to anyone. And the order of a guru you have to obey. But then he goes on top of a very high platform, and he just announces the mantra to everyone. Says, if you chant this, you'll get liberation. And obviously his guru is extremely displeased. But then later he explains, and then his guru surrenders unto Ramanujacharya, says, I should serve your lotus feet. So Ramanujacharya, his mood, and then he traveled all over India preaching the message of Vishnu like this. And actually there's some controversial conversations with Srila Prabhupada where he says, if they're not preaching, this is all nonsense. Says something like that. Because the great acharyas, they were preaching. Why are they not preaching? So he says like this about the Sri Sampradaya also. Why are they not preaching like this? Vishnu, all the acharyas, they preach because actually, he says that he almost goes to the extent, I think, because devotees are asking, are they bona fide? And then he goes along this line and saying, like, why are they not preaching? The acharyas preached. Because we see, like Ramanujacharya, he's mentioned, he went all the way up to so far north to Kashmir to preach. And so this is actually the tradition of Vaishnav line is to preach. But it seems that there was some level of something came in that stopped that from being expounded so much like what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. Where now, the Gaudiya Vaishnav line is completely dedicated, that is the center of the movement, is Sankirtan, to glorify Krishna and to take that to every village, town and village. And that was actually the desire of Acharya. That was the desire of Ramanujacharya too. To spread the message of Vishnu to all over the world, actually, not just within India. That was their desire. And that's why when we read Chaitanya Bhagavat, we are reading the description, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he fulfilled that mission which Shukadeva Goswami wanted to fulfill. That mission which all Vyasadeva, all these great personalities wanted to fulfill, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did that. So, in that way, we come in that line of great acharyas like Ramanujacharya. We accept them as a part of the Vaishnav tradition, and we follow in their footsteps. Mahajano yata gata sapanta. We follow in their line of their mood, their mood and mission of establishing Vishnu Bhakti and defeating Mayavad. This is very important. This is very, very important aspect of devotional service, is to learn how to defeat Mayavad, how to root that out from ourselves and from everyone else. This was one of the main missions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to root this out. And it's the pranam mantra of Srila Prabhupada. So any Vaishnava, he should be very much learned in defeating Mayavad philosophy and establishing Vishnu Bhakti. That we can understand from all our acharyas, all our great acharyas that we follow, that we can understand very easily. So Ramanujacharya, he's such a great personality. He was able to establish Vishnu Bhakti. And he himself was such a exalted, exemplary example of what a devotee is. Very much surrendered to the Guru, very much devoted to the Vaishnavas, and completely his Atma Nivedanam, his Atma Nivedana, and his complete surrender, body, mind, soul, intelligence, soul, everything, his speech, everything is surrendered on the service of Vishnu. And so we can take this example from Ramanujacharya and try to implement that in our lives and be inspired by that, inspired by the level of devotion that these Sri Vaishnavas have coming in that line. You look at them and it's very inspiring, very surrendered. And their line is continued. It's one of the few lines that are remaining and that are going on strongly. So they've maintained their chastity to their acharyas. They've maintained their devotion to Vishnu. So one can follow like that. Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, we're very young. So we can follow in their line also, like that mood of surrender to their acharyas. And so there's actually a little bit more about Ramanujacharya in what our acharyas explain about him also. In this Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, Ramanujacharya is mentioned. And because he's a great acharya, and the Sri Vaishnava line, some of them will reject Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an incarnation. They won't accept him. They accept our philosophy. They accept and respect us, but they may not particularly accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But there's this amazing pastime that comes in this Navadvip Dham Mahatmya of actually Ramanujacharya seeing the vision of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I'm just going to read through some of these things here. So this confidential story is that this Ramanujacharya actually visits Puri. He goes to Jagannath Puri. And Jagannath appears before him and says, "Go and see Navadvip Dham, for soon I shall appear there in the house of Jagannath Mishra. Navadvip is my very dear Dham, situated in one place in the spiritual sky. As my eternal servant and a leading devotee, you should see Navadvip. Let your students who are absorbed in Dasya Ras stay here, and you go alone. Any living being who does not see Navadvip has been born uselessly. Just one portion of Navadvip contains Ranga, Venkata, and Yadava Achala." Is that how I say it? Yeah. these are like the principal deities of the Sri Vaishnav line. Therefore, go to Navadvip and see the form of Gauranga. You have come to this earth to preach bhakti, so let the birth be successful with the mercy of Gaura. From Navadvip, go to Kurmastana and there join again with your disciples. So joining his hands, Ramanuja made a request to Jagannath. You have mercifully mentioned Gauranga, but exactly who he is, I do not know. The Lord answered, everyone knows the master of Goloka, Krishna. That Krishna whose Vilasa Murti is Narayana. He is the supreme truth residing in Vrindavan. That Krishna is fully manifested in the form of Gauranga, and Navadvip Dham is the same as Vrindavan. This Navadvip is the topmost abode situated beyond the material universe, and is that place Gauranga stays eternally. By mercy, that Dham has come to exist within Bhumandala, yet remaining unaffected by Maya. This is the verdict of scripture. And if you think that Navadvip is only a material location, then your devotion will perish. Oh my God. By my will, my inconceivable energies preserve this full transcendental Dham within the material world. Simply by reading scripture, one will not get the highest truth, for the highest truth surpasses all reasoning power. Only the devotees, by my mercy, can understand. Hearing Ramanuja was moved with prema. Lord, Lord, your Leela is truly astounding. The scriptures cannot know your opulence. Why is not Gauranga Leela described clearly in the scriptures? Then when I closely examine the Shruti and Purnas, I find some hint of the Gaura Tattva only. Now, however, I am ready to serve your order, for doubts are gone. If it is your desire, I will go to Navadvip and preach Gaura Leela throughout the three worlds, giving evidence from the hidden scriptures to all people, converting all devotional service to Gauranga. Please instruct me. Ramanujacharya was ready to serve the instruction of Jagannath, to spread the love of Gaura. Gaura Prema would have been established before Gaura even came. So Jagannath said, Ramanuja, do not broadcast this. Sorry, this is like the English and this is broadcast this. Keep the esoteric Gaura Leela secret. Only after he has finished his Leela will the general public receive it. Preach for me only the levels of Dasya, while in your heart worship Gaura constantly. So Ramanujacharya, it seems that he started to worship the form of Gaura. So you could say, in one sense, that he's a Gaudiya Vaishnava. He's the worshipper of Gaura. Taking the advice of Lord, Ramanuja secretly cultured his attraction for Navadvip. Narayan being merciful, led Ramanuja to Vaikuntapur and there showed him his transcendental form served by Sri, Phu and Leela. Ramanuja thought himself fortunate to obtain this darshan, but instantly the figure changed to that of Gaura Sundara, the Lord of Jagannath Mishra. Ramanuja soon, in the brilliance of the form, Gaura put his lotus feet on his head. Ramanuja, divinely inspired, recited prayers of praise. I must see Gaura's actual Leela on earth. I can never leave Navadvip. Gauranga said, your wish will be fulfilled as the son of Keshava. When the Nadia Leela will be revealed in the future, you will take birth here again. Gauranga disappeared. Ramanuja contented, resumed his journey. After some days, he arrived at Kurmastan and with his disciples saw the place. During his life, he preached Dasya Ras throughout the south of India, while internally he was absorbed in Gaura Leela. By Gauranga's mercy, he was later born in Navadvip as the devotee Ananta. So Gaura Leela, Ramanujacharya, you can see his place in Gaura. He is the preacher. He was the preacher of message of Vishnu. So Gauranga Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed that onto his dear devotee, and he was actually in that mood. He was worshipping Sri Gaura. He was absorbed in Gaura Leela, great Acharya of the Sri Vaishnava line. So he's such a great personality. How Acharyas give such very deep and this is it's a confidential story that is not revealed in any other line, the Sri Vaishnavas probably won't accept this. But we can see from our acharyas, they have the vision. And so, Sri Ramanujacharya, he's the devotee of Gaura. And we worship our acharyas, all our acharyas that we worshipped, as a greatly dear to Gaura. And so, Ramanujacharya, not different. We're coming in his line in that sense that we're within our hearts, we're always worshipping Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can take his example of preaching strongly, of going and message and spreading the message of Vishnu. And so we can see that, how Srila Prabhupada embodies that, and how our own spiritual master embodies that, and how we should embody that. There's this little shorts they released. He says that when our Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Vikas Swami, he met this personality, disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta, might not be a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta. He said the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was like a lion. He actually said this in Atlanta when we were in those camps. He said, and your spiritual master, he said to Guru Maharaj, is also like a lion. And then Guru Maharaj, disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Prabhupada was also like a lion. And then Guru Maharaj says, I don't consider myself to be anything else. I'm like a lion's cub. And so I expect my disciples to also be like that. So we're expected to follow in that line and be like lions and serve the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this way. And always worship Gaura Prema. Always be absorbed in Gaura Lila. What is Gaura Lila? Chant, dance, distribute books. Take a lot of prasadam. That is Gaura Lila. So we'll be absorbed in that. And as long as we stay absorbed in that, we're always lions. And we'll never become jackals or any other species. We always should remain like lions, strong. So if there's any questions or comments, everyone can please feel free to ask. Shri Prabhu.
That's a very interesting quote or reference that you made of Srila Prabhupada, making this point that, where's the potency? All the acharyas preached, where's the potency? That's very interesting because the Sri Vaishnavas, their argument against preaching, basically, at least some of the modern ones, their argument is that, anybody who's supposed to come to devotional service, they're going to come because they don't, their philosophy is that you'll come when you gradually ascend through the varnashram system, and you will come. Someday you will come. If you want it, you will come. Something like that. And some of them, they may preach in the temple, maybe, or if not even in the temple, if you go to them, they will preach. It's a very interesting. We're discussing about, Ramanujacharya on his appearance and this and that. Now, when I've been to several Sri Vaishnava temples, they celebrate it on a different day because they follow a little different calendar. We celebrate according to the Tithi, which means the day of which day of which fortnight, meaning it's one of the 15 days of either the bright fortnight or the dark fortnight of the month. And then we celebrate it according to that. Okay, so this Tithi on either the dark fortnight or the bright fortnight of this month. And so when that comes, that's how we determine the appearance or disappearance days. They celebrate it according to the nakshatra, meaning the star. So whenever we're all born, you have a birth star and you have a birth Tithi. So so the Lord's appearances, we also celebrate according to Tithi. That's why we say Janmashtami. They celebrate according to star. It's a bona fide process. It's just a different type of calendar. So when they do that, they do Abhishek and they do all of this, but they never speak. I mean, you go, you worship their Acharya, you don't really know who they are. And then they may say something little, they hardly say anything. I mean, they never say anything. You have a big Abhishek and then you get a little extra prasadam,
Yeah, it's mostly just
and
worship.
that's it. So it's just, and everything is recited in Sanskrit. So you don't understand anything. Or it's recited in complicated Tamil, which also you don't understand. You know, what to speak if you don't know the language. And so there is no concept even. Even in the temple, even whoever comes, they don't speak. What to speak of going outside and preaching. So if that were the case, that people will come anyways, then why did acharyas like Ramanujacharya go and preach?
Yeah.
You know, why do anything? Everybody will come anyways, right? Someday they'll come.
Right.
Like every single conditioned soul is eventually destined to go back home, back to Godhead. So why do anything? So yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it makes sense because after what you mentioned, I think about it. It's like you got those three principles of Ramanujacharya, Mayavad, defeating Mayavad, and the five samskaras, which is worshiping the deity. And the deity worship is very nicely established and things like that. Worship seems like they just take the worship aspects, but then this other two they seem to not give so much emphasis on. Because who's there? What's his name? The new, not to criticize or anything, but like the new, what's his name? The one who built the piece is called the piece. I mean, like he just hangs out with like Mayavadis, and he's just like, what is this? It's like we see that. It's like really, really disappointing actually, because it's like, what is this? There's like he hangs out with this Sadguru and so many other Mayavads, and I'm like, this is like ridiculous. Yeah, it's not. It's just like this rascal straight up. And it's like. So it seemed Prabhupada, when he made that statement, that seems to align. It's like, okay, they're only following one aspect of it.
They call Ramanujas, they built this big statue of Ramanujacharya, this big, form of Ramanujacharya, and they call it Statue of Unity.
Oh, yeah.
Which it's true,
Yeah.
but he's united on the basis of worshipping, Vishnu or Krishna, and not just unity and just. They like to speak of how Ramanujacharya went against the caste system, but so they like that. Now it's like it's like a progressive thing. It's like amazing thing, but they don't talk about the other side of Ramanujacharya. It's just like for Srila Prabhupada also nowadays they quote, he treated all his all the males and females all equal and everything, but he doesn't talk about the other things that Srila Prabhupada said.
Yeah.
It's like you just take whatever you think is the rosy aspects.
Yeah. So that's then you start to stray. It's like, what is this? When I saw that, I was really disappointed. It's like, my God, especially any Vaishnava that associates with Mayavadis and seems to be hanging out with them, and it's like a big alarm bell. Okay, Jita Girish Prabhu.
Quick question and then a comment. So, which Acharya revealed that Ramanujacharya was a Gaudiya at heart? Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Navadina Mahatmya, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes.
Okay.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, right? I mean, like he has so many books and he reveals so many things. Pretty much a lot of the things, like even this painting of. Have you ever seen the painting of the, for Gora Art? Generally, this is a Gora Arti song actually. Have you ever seen that painting where all the Panchatattva is dancing and all that, how they're dancing and how they're playing mridangas and all the things. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes all these. He has this vision, of all these amazing insights. So we get it from our acharyas. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and quick on that point, this story about how Ramanujacharya finally got the mantra from his guru and then went to the rooftop and shouted out to everybody. His mood is mentioned that his mood is that let me go to hell, but let all these fallen conditioned souls be saved. So that's like that's also like a Gaudiya sort of mood.
Yeah.
Just giving the holy name.
Yeah. Yeah, we have that. We have that mood that we don't care for our own liberation. We have we have Prahlad Maharaj. Forget my liberation. He says I already understand Vishnu, and but these guys don't. Let me stay in this material world. And so it's like Srila Prabhupada said, I'm going to hell to preach next. So where's the next destination? I'm going to hell. Why? To preach. So even in let me go to hell. For Ramanujacharya, it doesn't matter. Whether he goes to hell or heaven, he's going to preach Vishnu Bhakti. And for him, that's the topmost thing, so he doesn't care at all. So Vaishnava, when he's like in proper line and he's following. So yeah, that's all. That's the mood of every Vaishnava.
Not particular Gaudiya then.
Well, the
particular.
mood of Vaishnava is wherever he goes, he worships Vishnu, right? So there's Ramanujacharya's mood. Let everyone be liberated. Let me go to hell. I'll preach more. That's like that's what Ramanuja would do if he went. You know, if, I mean, not that he's gonna go there, but yeah, Gaudiya Vaishnava mood is like let us, let everyone become liberated. I'll take all their sins, so like that. But that's the duty of a spiritual master is also like that.
It's not really Gaudiya Vaishnava mood.
Yeah,
It's not even, you can't even say it is like that's just the mood of some exalted Vaishnavas, specific exalted Vaishnavas. We cannot think like that. I'll let me accept all the disciples in the world. Let me accept let me take all their sins and let me go to hell. We'll actually go to hell. So this is little different. We
Not to
cannot
be
imitate
imitated.
these exalted Vaishnava acharyas. They may out of their exalted position, they may say a few things, but we cannot. So Srila Prabhupada, Ramanujacharya, this is really very unique.
Look at what they
You
did
can't,
also.
you cannot imitate. You cannot say it's a Gaudiya Vaishnava mood, meaning that we're Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we should also, um, you know, let me give the dust of my lotus feet, and like or something like that. We cannot say
Ramanujacharya had to
something like
do
that.
that, right? He had to give his lotus. There was some king's daughter she got possessed by a ghost, and actually his guru, the Mayavadi guru, Yadava Prakash, he went to do the mantras. And generally, when you get possessed by a ghost, what you do is you're someone who knows proper mantras. They'll chant that and take that ghost out of you. But he went to the ghost, and went along, and the ghost said, he did all the mantras, and the ghost started speaking and said, until Ramanuja gives his dust of his lotus feet, I will not leave this girl's body. And then Ramanujacharya takes the dust of his lotus feet, and gives it to this ghost, and then the girl becomes free of this ghost. The ghost becomes liberated, I guess. I don't know, but anyways, yeah. It's not our thing. Is Prabhupada often said we should be scared of Maya, not like that I'm a great Acharya. So we have the mood of our Vaishnava Acharyas is like that. Acharya, someone who is is actually in that position of an Acharya. So the Acharya's mood is like that, right? Any Acharya.
You cannot generalize this.
Okay.
This is a very unique characteristic.
Okay.
Exalted Vaishnavas. Yeah, we don't try to compare our acharyas,
Yeah.
but some of the acharyas had this mood.
Mood.
That's all.
Okay. Yes, Tracy. Oh, I should put yeah.
So, if they're not preaching, how are they like going on so strongly and continuing on?
Their line. They're just seminal line. They're born into Brahmana families, and they're taught when they're younger, and that's more or less how it goes on in the Sri Vaishnava tradition. They're quite a big society, so you just their kids are born into it. They're taught the principles of. I mean, you see, like you probably learned so many. You come from more of the it's like Shankar line. So he comes in the Shankar line. So when he was young, you're taught like you learn all these shlokas and shastras, but nowadays it's also like now modernizing.
I mean, that's why, because they're not preaching, it's all like breaking apart.
It's breaking apart.
But they used to preach only amongst themselves. But you see, your Ramanujacharya appeared 1,000 years ago, and generations and centuries of lineages have been following his. So it's a big crowd, and so you can just like Christians go on, Muslims go on. I mean, it's like if it's a big population, you kind of go on in some way, shape, or form, but it doesn't mean. And there are some sincere people among all of them, but it doesn't mean that the pure teachings are going on. Where the Gaudiya Vaishnava movement in the West is very small, very tiny,
And weak.
yeah, and
Extremely
and weak, but yeah. So we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Mataji, do you have any questions? Okay. All right. Srimad Bhagavad. I'm sorry. Ramanujacharya ki jai. Pancha kalpatarvesha kripa sindhibhyo vacha patnanam pavanebhyo